Welcome back, YouTube. Courage over fear here. I want to talk to you about some news that's out there right now about the whole confiscation of guns, Second Amendment, Bloomberg, President Obama, and what led up to what's going on right now. First off, there's a story here. It wasn't done today or anything, but I printed it off. It's about a Rochester man who was a cop, okay? You gotta take this in consideration. This was a cop. A Rochester man staying in a motel in Old Forge shot and killed his son early this morning, thinking his son was an intruder, state police said today. Now, if you're a cop and you shoot your son because you think your son is an intruder, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, aren't cops supposed to be trained in the fact of, don't just shoot, identify the perpetrator before you shoot? Or are they now trained to where they just shoot now and ask questions later? I mean, but as this goes on, it says, okay, Michael Leach, which was the guy that shot his son, is 59 years old, an officer with the Perry Police Department in Wyoming County, called 911 at 12:51 a.m. from the Clark Beach Motel to say that he just shot someone he thought was an intruder. Instead of an intruder, Leach shot and killed his son, Matthew S. Leach, 37, 23 South, whatever his address is. I'm not going to put that out there. The cop, Michael Leach, he used his department-issued .45 caliber Glock handgun in the shooting, and he was taken to St. Luke's Hospital after the shooting for what troopers described as a medical issue. So, if a cop shoots his son in cold-blood murder because he feels he was an intruder, and he didn't even bother to say freeze or find out who the perpetrator was first, he just shot, okay, and killed his son. So, because a cop does that, they're considered to have a mental condition. But someone else does the same exact thing, and there's no bring them to a hospital for a medical condition. They're just going to go ahead and throw you away in jail. So what up with cop? You're not going to just throw him away in jail? You're going to say he's got a medical issue and then just let him go home or something? I just don't see how that works at all. I mean, if I were to have somebody come into my house and I shoot them, I'd probably go to jail. Even though the law states that if somebody breaks into your house or whatever, you have the right to shoot them. But it also states that you have to tell them, try to get them to leave first. You can't just, they walk in the door, bang! You just can't do that. But another story on the same subject, it says exactly the same stuff, but as you can see, both stories are right here. And they're both about 4 very short paragraphs for each article, okay? But they say that they're, sorry, they're still investigating what had happened. Another story by WTHR and NBCnews.com, a suspected gunman and a bystander are dead after 2 officers are wounded and a police dog was killed during a shooting rampage in the central Indiana town of Pendleton, authorities said Friday. A Newcastle man identified as suspect Jim Kenneth Bailey, 58, was found dead, possibly by a self-inflicted gunshot wound, police told NBC station WTHR of Indianapolis. Police say that Bailey clad in a flak jacket. So this guy was in a flak jacket and a gas mask and showed up at his estranged wife's home in Pendleton late Thursday and started firing his gun outside, started shooting it off in the air or whatever. Bailey fatally struck John Neal Scholl, who was driving past the house in his pickup that night. And when Pendleton police arrived, Bailey grazed an officer, authorities said. An officer from the town of Anderson, who came as backup, was hit in both legs. His police dog was shot and killed. They said that Bailey had a lot of ammunition, so he was there with intent to injure somebody. The police, get this part. This is the part that bothers me completely. The police set up a perimeter and put the town on lockdown as SWAT members hunted for Bailey door to door. This is the funny part. The SWAT team and the police department locked down this town, okay? Locked down this block, locked down the town, going door to door looking for this guy. But at 6 a.m. Friday morning, they found Bailey behind his estranged wife's house. Okay, if he was there to begin with, wouldn't you search the house first? Search around the perimeter of the house, search inside the house to find out if he's there first instead of going all over town? I mean, that's what boggles my mind. I mean, are these police that freaking stupid that they seriously just, they don't follow orders to where, you know, if I was a cop, I'm not even a cop, I'm not even trained as a cop, but I'm trained military, and if somebody was shot in front of the house, instead of locking down the whole town, I would lock down that street, but I would check that house first. Check it inside, outside, all the way around the house, all the way around the perimeter. You got flashlights. I mean, really? So, that doesn't make any sense to me either. I mean, makes no sense at all. So they're going door to door, knocking and pounding on everybody's door, breaking in doors, saying, you know, where is this guy? Have you seen this guy? And he's 100 feet from where they first started, laying in the backyard, dead. He shot himself, which I doubt. I bet you the cops shot him, but whatever. So those are some reasons, including the Colorado shooting, where Obama and Mayor Bloomberg are saying that, you know, we need to confiscate Americans' guns because it's just getting out of control. One, a cop shot his son. Two, a guy wearing a flak jacket and a gas mask, which I don't know why he was wearing it to begin with, so which tells me they're probably going to outlaw flak jackets and gas masks now, just because that was worn by the perpetrator during this incident. But let's go and see what Obama and Bloomberg are saying about gun confiscation. About the UN treaty, the United Nations Armed Trade Treaty. Well, after last week's shooting in Colorado, President Obama remarked Wednesday night about gun violence were a rare departure for a president who usually steers clear of the subject. Now another gun issue is coming to a head that the president likely would just as soon avoid: the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty. The treaty, whose final version is due out on Friday today, aims to regulate the $60 billion international trade in small arms in an effort to keep weapons out of the hands of terrorists and rogue regimes. But gun owners in the United States are on high alert over concerns that the treaty could undermine their Second Amendment rights. Advocates of the treaty say that they need not worry. The U.S. Constitution trumps international law, and the treaty will not affect domestic gun ownership, they say. But it's not clear anything can mollify agitated gun owners. Even the signatures of 58 senators on letters circulated by colleagues opposing the treaty. If Mr. Obama were to sign the treaty and send it to the Senate, it would fall far short of the two-thirds majority required for ratification. Now, that is very true. The U.S. Constitution does trump international law. The UN, the United Nations, is international. Our U.S. Constitution trumps any law that the United Nations does try to make up. It's just the way it is. So Mayor Bloomberg and President Obama do not have a leg to stand on. If they were to try to take away the Second Amendment, it's tyranny. That is punishable by law. It just is. Did this go off? Sorry if I'm too close. Oh no, it's my battery. Saying my battery is low. Well, sorry about that. Congressional opponents are trying to make sure the treaty never gets to the Senate. Well, that's fine. Let it go to the Senate. It still cannot be passed because of the fact that the Constitution trumps international law. End of story. I don't care what you do, what you write down, how you put it into words. The U.S. Constitution will always trump international law. Done. Done deal. It's disguised as an international arms control treaty to fight against terrorism and international crime syndicates. The UN Small Arms Treaty is in fact a massive global gun control scheme. Representative Paul Brown, Republican of Georgia, said in a recorded message distributed Tuesday by the Colorado-based National Association for Gun Rights. For many conservatives, the UN Arms Treaty pushes two hot buttons. The UN, which some fear has the potential to supersede U.S. national sovereignty, and gun rights. Let's see what else we got here. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and recess appointment bypassing Senate confirmation says, I put gun rights way at the top of issues Tea Partiers care about. All the core provisions of the draft treaty still have major loopholes which will simply ratify the status quo instead of setting a high international standard that will change state practices and save lives on the ground, said Peter Hervey, head of the arms unit of the International Committee of the Red Cross, according to the agency France Press. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what they say. The U.S. Constitution trumps international law. Sorry. The NRA did decline a request for a comment, so that right there is kind of saddens me that the NRA didn't say anything about it. I was hoping they would. But let's go ahead with Bloomberg. Any of you that don't know Bloomberg, that's Bloomberg right there. There's Bloomberg. That's Mayor Bloomberg of New York City. Now, Bloomberg said Monday it is incumbent on President Barack Obama and GOP candidate Mitt Romney to address the issue specifically, not in just broad terms. New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg is again calling on the presidential candidates to come up with a specific plan on gun control. Bloomberg said Monday it is incumbent. I just read that part. Bloomberg spoke on MSNBC in the wake of the mass shooting in Aurora, Colorado. He asked how anyone can run for the highest office in the country and not have a plan. He said some people feel it's insensitive to talk about gun control and the nation mourns Colorado's victims, but he asked, if not now, when? Bloomberg heads up a coalition of American mayors who support tighter gun control. The group has lobbied for stronger enforcement of existing laws. Well, I'm sorry, Mayor Bloomberg, but you're not going to get your way. It's just not going to happen. Let's see about Obama here. Gun control, why Obama played it safe in remarks on violence in cities. Here we go with that one. 6 days after the shooting in Spring, Colorado, that killed 12 people, President Obama made his first extended remarks on gun violence. Speaking Wednesday night to a gathering of the National Urban League in New Orleans, Mr. Obama extended his focus beyond the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, and into the streets of Chicago and Atlanta, where guns take the lives of young people daily. You have gangs there. I guarantee you're not going to send no cops, you're not going to send no UN people anywhere into those streets to go try to fight fight the gangs. It's not going to happen. You're going to walk in and you're not going to walk out. Sorry, end of story. In a bow to political reality, Obama didn't call for any new laws. Instead, he highlighted measures already taken that don't require legislation, such as background checks for the purchase of firearms that are now more thorough. What he didn't say was that the background check on the alleged Aurora shooter, James Holmes, turned up nothing to deny him his weapon. All of his firearms were obtained legally. We all still have these background checks. You can't make a background check any more stringent. And to be honest, gang members don't go through a background check. They steal their guns, buy them on the streets, and they conceal them to where you can't see them. They're going to get them anyway. If you make it illegal to have a gun, we're going to have a gun anyway. It's just, I'm sorry. The Second Amendment says we're allowed to have a gun. It's our birthright. We're going to have a gun. End of story. Let's see. Since becoming President, Obama has been walking a fine line on guns, even as he calls for better enforcement on existing laws and mourns the victims of gun violence. He also expanded gun rights. In 2009, for example, he signed legislation that allows the carrying of concealed weapons in national parks, and another bill that allows people to carry guns in their checked bags on Amtrak trains. Let's see what else we got here. On July 24th, the Mayor's Group put out a survey of NRA rank and file members by GOP pollster Frank Luntz that found strong support for certain gun control measures, including criminal background checks for anyone purchasing a gun. NRA members also strongly support allowing states to set eligibility requirements for people wanting to carry a concealed weapon in public. The group's suggestion was that the NRA leadership is more hardline than NRA members. Well, let me tell you something about that. There are states right now that have gone ahead and said that it is a law for you to carry a gun. So they go and they do the background check, they get a concealed weapon permit, and they carry a gun. In those states, crime has dropped down 80%. If you were to do that across the country, crime would drop down 80%. Just look at the numbers. They're right there in front of your face in black and white. If you don't believe me, look it up, read about it. But that's what I got on the news today about that. This is Courage Over Fear saying stay safe, be safe, and prep while you can.